Now let me wrap up very quickly by listing out for you the fruits of discipleship. How do you know a true disciple? This will be the last discussion. This one is a cause for you to go and study all through this week. If I were you, as I go back home, I will now sit down and listen. The fruits of discipleship. The following are some of the major fruits of a true disciple. You can test what I'm saying with your life here and now and know whether you are a true disciple of Jesus Christ. Number one, the greatest fruit of a thoroughly discipled believer, write this down, is a balanced Christian life that reflects on, well, this is just a preamble. The greatest fruit of a thoroughly discipled believer is a balanced Christian life that reflects the following. One, the fruit of the Spirit, especially love. The first fruit of a true disciple of Jesus is a manifestation of the fruits of the Spirit. Galatians 5:22. Whether you are a pastor, whether you are an apostle, whether you are a prophet, whether you've been 1 year in ministry or 50 years in ministry, with all due respect, whether you are a businessman, if we do not find with time a gradual progressive emergence of the fruit of the Spirit in you, most especially the love nature of Christ, you are not a true disciple of Jesus. You don't have to be fake, but you are not a true imitator of Christ. The fruit of the Spirit. More than good preaching, the fruit of the Spirit. More than excellent communication, the fruit of the Spirit. More than a large ministry, the fruit of the Spirit. Number two, what is the second fruit of a true disciple? Are you ready? Death to self. Death to self. You are not a true disciple of Jesus when you have an unhealthy attachment to pleasure. Death to self is one of the cardinal elements, cardinal fruits of a true disciple. One who has been worked on by the Spirit, one who has been worked on by the Word, one who has been transformed, one who has transited from an infant to a witness. Death to self. What does that mean? A healthy, an unhealthy, or a detachment from an excessive love for pleasure. What does it mean to die to self? To embrace a life of modesty, even in the presence of abundance and plenty. To embrace a life of modesty. And it's up to you to define what that means to you. But I can tell you by experience that the best way to live the effective Christian life is to be modest, enjoy whatever blessing God gives you, but put a cap on it. There is a level of excessivism as far as material things are concerned, that if you are not careful, it will not give you the liberty. It will corrupt the purity of your followership. You don't have to live in poverty and live a miserable life to prove that you love Jesus. I'm not for that. But there is a level of decent living. Generally speaking, I advise people who are under my care, minimize an excessive lifestyle. Are we together? Over showing off. There are necessary needs and there are things you should enjoy your life. Don't feel guilty for being successful, but a life of modesty has been proven from Bible and through modern history as the best template for being a true disciple. You can be a billionaire and enjoy your billions and still within your realm live a modest life. Are we together? Death to self. Many people don't like this part of the teaching in church. Believers must be taught death to self. Once a man dies to self, you can't bribe such a man again. Once the man dies to self, there are certain appetites that die and go forever. Number three, what is the third fruit of discipleship? Placing priority on Jesus as the most important relationship in your life. The third fruit of a true disciple of Jesus. Placing priority on Jesus as the most important relationship in your life. Greater than friends, greater than family, greater than spouses, greater than children. I'm not saying to ignore them, but nothing should come close to your relationship. If your wife tampers with your relationship with Jesus, she has become your idol. If your husband or your children or your job, no relationship on earth should sustain the power to tamper with your love for Jesus. Now, if you are not responsible to other relationships and you claim it's because you are loving Jesus, you are a liar. Because the Bible says, how can you love God that you have not seen? So I'm not giving a license. There are many people who have allowed their children cry. Their children cry in hunger and they claim that it's church. But I can tell you this, a true disciple of Jesus is one who knows. And when you get married, or when you are married, your wife will know, your husband will know. As your children come, you will teach them, I love you with all my heart. I can give my life for you. But my precious children, learn this. When it has to do with me and Jesus, he was there before you came. My wife, I love you. My husband, I love you. My parents, I love you. Siblings, relatives. But nothing should stand your way with Jesus. This is how the patriarchs showed us the way of the cross. Not just death to self. I tell you the reason why it's very easy for people to give up on the things of Jesus. He was never a priority. He was part of the many things in their life. When God began with us, it was not about money. It was not about fame. It was about loving Jesus. It's the reason why you see me, till today as a person. Now you don't have to do it. When people start to celebrate and over-celebrate me, it affects me. I can shout on the pulpit, but till today, I'm still a bad receiver. I'm still learning. Because I feel that I should hide behind the cross. And all I want is for Jesus to be seen. That's it. You are not a true disciple of Jesus. Church of God in Nigeria, Church of God in Africa. These are the things that produce power. These are the things that shape society. A man who prioritizes Jesus will prioritize the values of Jesus. And whether you become a politician, whether you become whoever, you will live by that code. Let me give it to you quickly. Let's finish up. So number one, the fruit of the Spirit, especially walking in love. Number two, death to self, a detachment from excessive pleasure, a life of greatness and glory, but with modesty, even in the presence of plenty and abundance. Number three, placing priority on Jesus as your most important relationship. Greater, but not to ignore friends, family, spouses, children, and every other human relationship. Number four, what is the fourth fruit of a true disciple of Jesus? Freedom from mammon. Freedom from mammon. What does that mean? The ungodly, unhealthy attachment to money and other material things, but particularly money. Oh, you cannot be a true disciple of Jesus if you are still attached to mammon. That does not stop you from being a billionaire. That does not stop you from running conglomerates. You can be the wealthiest man on earth if possible and still not be attached to mammon. And the proof that you are not attached is that you can let it go. Anything you cannot let go is your God. Anything. You're my treasure, my priority. Who can compare to you? Great is the measure of your royalty, O morning star, you truly are. Let me tell you the truth. One of the reasons why God instructs people to give many times is because occasionally he prunes you to kill your detachment to mammon. So every once in a while he will give you a heavy instruction to part with something that is valuable. And you'll be like, ah, no, Kai, this is not. And God will say, this is what I wanted to show you. How much it has become an idol. And you say, God, you mean you now waited until they gave me arrears of 8 years? You would have told me to pay it last month. I had only 20,000 in my account. I would have obeyed with one instruction. You now waited until my uncle I've not seen for 10 years gave me $10,000. You must be a wicked God. And God says, no. Let me tell you something that happened not too long. We're about to pray. Was it a guy or a lady? I can't recall now. But somebody came with a seed. And when I saw the person holding an envelope. And God spoke to my heart that if this person hands over this seed, I should add to it and give the person. That the person truly was making a sacrifice. But it was a test. It was a crucifixion of the appetite for mammon. I think it was a lady. She stands before me and you could see that releasing, this is Isaac. And she said, Apostle, God instructed me. And I looked at her with a smile. It's a lady. And I told her, I said, you know what? I receive it. May God bless you. And I did what God asked me to do. I mean, the lady was almost broken. Why is this? I said, no, you have given me your own seed. But God said I should bless you. Take. If you have walked with God for up to 5 years and he has never demanded a sacrifice from you, there's something wrong with your work. I'm telling you, the God I know, keep waiting. One day he will come to you early in the morning. He will come after your retreat when your hearing is clear so that you don't doubt and say it's some kind of antichrist spirit. He won't come when the flesh has deadened your hearing. I mean, after your consecration, you've rolled before God, your heavens are open, and you say, my son, that shoe or that shirt, or maybe monetary times your salary for the next 3 months, and you say, God, you are joking. You are joking. You don't know what is going on in Nigeria and Africa. And God says, no, I am teaching you that a man's life does not constitute in the abundance of what he has. Something happens to you when you let go things that are valuable. A string is cut. The day that string is cut, God will now say, now open your hands, let me give you. When it rests upon you, no matter how heavy, you will find out that it cannot get here again because you have died. Disciples. Ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea how many things, opportunities, the things that people have wanted to do for me that will redefine the destiny of my children and children to the 4th generation. And God said, no. When you are a true follower of Jesus, even with tears in your eyes, his voice becomes your restraint or your system of allowance. Death to mammon. The church must trust God for this. The reason why people don't see true kingdom prosperity, the strange thing is that those who really have an appetite for money never have it. By God, you must die. You must die. Freedom from mammon. Church is quiet. He won't tell you, don't worry, leave what is in your account. I mean, I'm not going to ask you to give anything. Be comfortable, sit here. You are part of a responsible ministry. Are we together? But let me tell you, if you are happy that Koinonia does not ask you for money to mean that you are hiding greed, God will find a way one day. Don't worry. As you are saying, I love you, oh God, with all my heart. One day he will tell you, I want you to do this and that. That's the day you will bind and cast his voice until your love for mammon dies. Let me tell you this, I stand before the God of heaven, and the person speaking to you by the mercies of God. I'm not speaking in ignorance. There is no amount of money that will derail my passion from God. May God help me if I'm speaking nonsense. But as sincere as I know, no. And this man has been tested, you have no idea. Remember our letters? There are letters that you don't read. You keep it there. But it's only God that knows what some of us have done for the kingdom. Freedom from mammon. The cancer that has aborted great destinies, has killed the destinies of pastors, robbed men of their integrity. The cancer of mammon. If you're a young minister here, let me give you an advice, an honest advice in the name of Jesus. If you find out that you have an ungodly affinity to money and material things as a proof that ministry is working, I don't condemn you, but go for a retreat quick. Go and flog it out with God. If you must buy a Jeep before you feel you are doing well, if you must wear designers from head to toe, never allow anything around you define your self-worth. Dress well, look well, live in the mansions, buy the cars, that's fine, provided you are buried the appetite for mammon. There is a subtle campaign and we need to be careful. On one hand, there are people who hate the issue of wealth. I don't know why. Maybe because of the abuses that have happened around and the lack of integrity and the overemphasis on material wealth. And that is justifiable. But it must be done with moderation. There are those who have tried to be blessed and it did not work. And so they hate everything that reflects finances. But on the other hand, there are those who have built spiritual monuments around money. And it looks like the only definition of success is money. That must also be balanced. For a man's life does not constitute in the abundance of the things that he has. Poverty is not my friend. I hate it forever, for me and for you. But I can tell you one thing, you must die to mammon. Next, very quickly. What is the number what now? The fifth fruit of a true disciple. Victory and dominion by engaging the mysteries of the kingdom. I know you are a true disciple of Jesus when I eventually see a manifestation of victory and dominion in your life. You can indefinitely be a failure, failing in every area of your life, and call yourself a disciple. There might be seasons of training, seasons of pruning, but eventually I should see an emergence of dominion and victory, because he calls us more than conquerors. Victory and dominion is the fifth fruit, and that by engaging the mysteries of the kingdom. And then number 6, and this is where we end, This is by no means all the fruits. I'm just listing 6 for you for the purpose of our discussion tonight. Discipleship, raising the men that transform nations, raising the men that advance God's program, raising faithful stewards of God's end time program that he can trust. They will take advantage of his enabling grace and do mighty things for the kingdom. The 6th, that is the fruit. Are you ready? Freedom from fear of persecution and death. Oh, you are not a true disciple of Jesus until you get to a point where you become free from the fear of persecution and death. Again, this is where I thank God, and that with every due respect. This is where I honor the evangelicals and those that we call the Orthodox assemblies. When we were trained as little children, among the many instruments of training was the pride and the dignity of dying for Jesus if need be. Our wonderful people now today, especially in the modern church era, it's good to live long, but it's better to live well, serving the purposes of the kingdom. We fear death, we fear persecution, we are overly conscious of our reputation. What did they say about you? What did social media say? And how do you? No. A true disciple of Jesus has died to your reputation. You will be misunderstood many times, no matter how sincere you were. They called Jesus Beelzebub. They will call you Beelzebub. Are we together? Persecution is not a strange thing for the believer. Avoid the avoidables. Stay away from trouble. But when trouble meets you on account of the cross, stand with honor. Stand with honor. I tell you, I've gotten to a point in my life where for me, it is a dead man standing before you. I'm telling you, for me to live is Christ. The things of this world, as wonderful as they are, they make very little sense for me. Little sense. I found a nobler anchor of my passion. So when you say you love Jesus, make sure you understand what you're saying. A true disciple is not one who lives for Jesus alone. It's one who, if need be, can die. This is how the gospel came. Paul said that I may know him. We stop there usually. And the power of his resurrection. It says, and the fellowship of his sufferings. Fellowship. Partaking of his sufferings. That if they insult you as a pastor, they insult you, they misunderstand you, they say all kinds about you, you rejoice in your heart that is on account of the cross. This was how the fathers brought the gospel. Right now we have an obsession for a seeker-friendly world. I'm not talking about becoming foolish and being hated by people. If you are foolish and you are hated by people, you are receiving the fruits of lack of wisdom. That's not persecution. I'm talking about loving Jesus. And then Satan begins to manipulate men from within and without, raising men to thwart your vision and your concentration. No. This is it. MOG. Thank God you are hearing it before you open the ministry next week. That is the implication of being a pastor. I know the poster is already, you have an online version of it. I'm not being sarcastic. Good message for you. You know 7 dimensions of hearing the voice of God. Also learn how to die for Jesus. Learn how to die for Jesus. Let me tell you this. I'm a young man, but I have been privileged to be around a few crises, including post-election violence. When the violence happened in Jos, I was there. I was in town. There were a few uprisings that have happened in Zaria. I was there. There was a time at the height of what Boko Haram was doing in Maiduguri. I went to minister for NCCF. I was about to come and take a flight from Zaria to Abuja. True story. And then they canceled the flight. Then I think it was an airline called, well, I won't mention the name. They're no longer in existence now. But then they were there. I remember the driver, I asked him, I said, can you go to Maiduguri? Because the believers were happy. Nobody was going there for justifiable reason. I mean, you could die. And I told him, I said, I'm coming. It was the NCCF that time. I said, I will come. I told the man, I said, can you take me by road? He told me how much I will pay. I said, let's go. I passed Kano. It was less than 1 hour when there was a bomb blast. And I didn't stop the journey. We went to a place called Potiskum. And there they had closed because the military were protecting those areas. I'm not saying that to command sympathy. I'm saying somewhere in the journey of your life, you will be faced with a situation where you will choose between Jesus and this life. It is milder for others. Some never even experience it. But my goodness, for some, that is the last badge they carry as they transit. You are not a true Christian if you are not taught this. Are we together? That night, I did not sleep in Portiscum because of poverty. I was not poor. It was the privilege of the fellowship of the cross. We got there, it was night. They had closed the place because there were no fightings and the rest were going on. And I remember sleeping, that mosquitoes and everything, there were piles of cars. And I remember a joy welled up in my spirit later in the night. I said, I'm doing this for your glory, with all honor, with all honor, with all honor. Is someone learning? Many people sing it and it's just a jamboree. No. It's a declaration that if I serve him in life, glory be to God. But if death meets me as I serve him, let it be my honor. The hymn writer says, I will be a true soldier. I will die at my post. Every military man, go and ask the generals. Some of them never died in war. The next time you see a general, that is a testament of a man who fought many battles. Many battles. There are soldiers that started from NDA. Some did not finish. They died on the way. One time I went to Zaria and some of the soldiers that are around when we go, I went one time and I didn't see one of them again. And I was asking the friends, I said, where is this other person? And they all looked at one another and they said, he's gone. They went for an operation and he did not make it. The same way it is in the military. Some die in battle. Others survive, but they carry injuries. Others, as generals, you stand, you see no finger again. It went. Others live until they retire. Others die. That's why they hold them in honor. There are military men in hospitals today because they fought for a nation. That's how it is in the kingdom. Some will start. Others have gone, like Dr. Miles Monroe. Oh dear, others have gone. Some finished. Some in active battle because those who should support them were busy wasting their time, showing success and competing. Others stood alone in battle and they died. Today is our turn. I wish I can talk to young men who are doing ministry. This is ministry, not preaching, not Greek, not Hebrew. No turning back. No turning back. Not conferences. No, sir. Not suits and designers. Thank God for those. Not how many members. Not just flying private jets. No. Die. I thank God that he started with me from the north. I've seen all kinds of things. All kinds of things. If I tell you I love Jesus, believe me. Koinonia, if you love Jesus, this is the price for being a disciple. Rise up on your feet.